If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? All right, CEO Mischief Makers, MKJ here with a little note that if you really want to find out how incredibly successful Greg Johnson's tactics are, his mindset shifts have made him, and the impact and innovation that he uses to grow his business and satisfy his customers' needs, well, listen up. The Little Catholic Box is a quarterly curated subscription box for Catholic women. Our core mission is to introduce you to real people who are creating wonderful items. Not only do we share these items with you in this subscription box, we share their stories as well. We want to foster authentic connections between creators and customers to help people live more than just a transactional life. So visit thelittlecatholicbox.com to find out more and see how taking care of your customers, tethering yourself to your customers and their needs and their success will bring you some of your own. All right, here we go with our episode with the amazing Greg Johnson on impact and innovation. So we touched on this in their last episode when we talked about mindset. You actually introduced it. You talked about Tom Bilyeu. Sorry, I can never get his name right. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes, Bilyeu.
Bilyeu, thank you. When you talked about that, going from the customer-centric idea of business and now translating it into impact. So with your current gig, your previous gig, it was, health instruments and equipment and all those kinds of things. So you were impacting, that's a pretty big impact. I mean, obviously making sure that people have the resources or the diagnostics that they need when they go to their doctor. I'm assuming that's what you were talking about. Now, what are you doing? Now, what is your impact and how has that shifted to your current gig?
So my wife and I run an e-commerce business that it's basically a curated subscription box. And my coaching and consulting is really around how to use email as a tool to build relationships with your customers. So they sound like two very different things, but what I show up and do every day in both is really fundamentally the same thing. So the analogy I like to use is, before e-commerce existed and before, like big box stores existed, the shopping experience, whether it's like a stall in an open air market or some sort of, mom and pop brick and mortar retailer, the experience of shopping was that the customer knows who they're buying from. Right. So you walk into the store in the corner to pick up, whatever you need to pick up. And you might have a conversation with the person across the counter because it's the same person that's there every week. They know your family, they know how your job is going, how, their family's doing. Like there's legitimately a relationship between the buyer and the seller. They know each other. They know each other's situation. And the transaction of the buyer buying from the seller is more than just a monetary exchange because there's a foundation of a relationship underneath it. Now, I love e-commerce. I love being able to have tremendous worldwide reach in our messaging and in our ability to sell. So, that's awesome. But one of the things that we have lost is that idea of that that genuine relationship between a buyer and a seller, right? We get to hide behind our computer screens, both as a buyer and a seller. I know initially when I got into e-commerce, it was because I didn't have to do customer service, or so I thought, right? It was this idea of anonymous money making, right? Just kind of this allure. But what I have grown into is that's actually a detriment to the long-term viability of the business and to the fulfillment of the business owner. So what I try to do with my own business and with my clients, kind of mostly through email, because I think it's the most, it's the communication channel that we have the best ability to do this with. But can we initiate conversations with people that help us to kind of get back to that idea of foundational relationship that underlies the financial transaction? And again, I know that there are people that are listening to this saying, this is wishy-washy mumbo jumbo, show me the money. But what I want to point out is it is a fact that it's more expensive to acquire a new customer than to maintain an existing customer. So I mentioned our business is based on subscriptions. So when we get a customer in the door, our average customer retention right now for our subscription product is a little over a year and a half, which is pretty good for a subscription business. And what we found is that even when people cancel the subscription, they stay on our email list and they still come back and make occasional one-time purchases, either for themselves or for gifts. So some of our very best customers we actually have people who have been subscribers for like 5 or 6 years. And I mean, if we're looking at customer lifetime value, it's insane. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah. Oh, beyond really good.
Yeah. And so the questions that we ask ourselves in running that business is, number one, how can we get ideal customers in the door in the first place? Ideal customers, not just anybody, but who are the people that are likely to stick around for years and years, and how do we get them in the door, right? So that is basic. That underlies our entire lead gen strategy. Number two, how can we create a connection with them authentically, like an authentic connection where they actually care about the mission of the business. They see us as real people and know that we see them as real people as well. And that changes the equation in terms of supply and demand. So we curate our products from other people, right? Mm-hmm. So legitimately, anybody could buy what we have in the box for the most part from the individual vendors. And, plus or minus shipping charges, it would be about the same price. So what value do we add? We add value by curating these things together and by telling stories sharing the stories of the creators and having an underlying relationship with our customers. And if you have those things in place, even if you're selling a commodity, you can decommoditize yourself by having the relationship piece in place. So even for people out there who are selling silicone spatulas, if you can figure out how to pull this off and create a genuine bond between yourself and your customers, you can sell them even more spatulas and probably charge a higher price. And they will choose you because it's you and not because it's your spatulas.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Back up a little bit. I've got to unpack that even more. So let's go back to this whole situation, this whole idea of impact. And really what you did was you started with, what impact are we making on our customers? The only way you can know who your ideal customer is by knowing who you're impacting and what they need and what they crave and how you uniquely solve that. So you took products and put them into a subscription box, and you just said people can go straight to those vendors and buy those specific products. But the way you package these products is your innovation of their product. So you're taking these other disparate products, putting them together in a way that as a unit solve a problem that is bigger and deeper and much more relationship based than if these people just went and purchased those products individually. That is innovation. Think about it. This is not just e-commerce. This is not just going out and buying a widget. This is curating an experience for your customers. And obviously, they want that experience if they stick around for 5 years and they want to keep doing it. It's not just a situation where it's a Netflix subscription. And let's say, what is it, Hulu? I think my son's got Hulu. I've never watched Hulu, right? And I just have this subscription because it's just getting charged at $9 and I don't even realize where the money's coming from because I don't watch the programs. This shows up at their door. So they know they're subscribed. This isn't just money coming out of their account automatically. So that innovation of this model of e-commerce is really what is allowing you to have that impact, right?
Yes.
That's incredible. Absolutely. How did you come to that? How did you decide that the way you were going to put that together was the problem you wanted to solve, or the solution, or the experience you wanted to provide to your customers?
That's slightly complicated. So what I will tell you is that my wife and I purchased this business from the founder, and the founder grew it up to a point and then was intending to shut the whole thing down. And through a mutual friend, we saw that what she had built was basically what we imagined we wanted to build. And so we were able to, it was a very, last minute deal that we threw together. It was messy. It was not, if anybody's ever bought or sold a business, if you had seen this, you would have just not even believed what was going on. It was,
you would cringe, huh?
It was, yes. So fortunately, both parties, buyer and seller, really wanted the business to carry forward, like saw that it was doing good, saw that there was really something there. And even though the due diligence was just not well done on either end, the deal ended up working out fine. Thank goodness. I don't recommend doing things this way. So, as we stepped into running this, we really looked at what was working and sought to understand why it was working. And then what could we plug in from our own skill set, from our own assets that were just going to amplify what was already working. And what we saw is that the company was very much relationship, like built on relationships. A lot of the original customers were like friends and neighbors of the founder, right? And some of them are still subscribed, after we've taken the baton. So what I would say is, like you mentioned, we needed to truly understand who that ideal customer was and why they were purchasing the product, and then make sure that that's what we continued to serve up. And you touched on this before, but the way that we curate things together, we are delivering an experience. It's more than just an assortment of items. The way that they are bundled together, each one complements and highlights another one, and we put story behind that. Like why is this item selected? And we tell about the people behind it. A lot of the vendors we work with are pretty small. I'm going to say, like, think of like a entry-level Etsy seller, stay-at-home mom. Like, they have a particular gift and they want to share it, but they're really good at making the thing, but maybe not running the business or doing the marketing. And so many times it's early stage entrepreneurs that we are helping to kind of potentially step up to the next level. But because of that, the way that we approach the relationships with the vendors I think is as unique as how we approach the relationships with the customers. Because we're not necessarily going after people who can, crank out 10,000 units in a month. Like we have to think about manufacturing capacity and lead times very, very much. That goes into the thoughtfulness of how these things are prepared, and even lends more to the value of the story that we tell, if that makes sense. So kind of this is not a good analogy. This is all I have that comes to mind. But if you have a box of bicycle parts, they don't do much. But when you put them together into a bicycle, then it's called emergent properties. Now the bicycle can do more, right? And now it can propel you down the street. So like the sum of the sum is the
whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Thank you. Yes. So that's the whole thing that we're trying to do in what's our value proposition? Like, why is it better to buy from us than just from each of the vendors? And I know I just gave a very rambling answer.
Oh no, it was perfect. It was perfect. It was perfect. So here's my take on this, and that was perfect. If you want, again, I'm going to give a piece of advice, whether you want it or not, people listening, if you want to sell to the emerging generation, okay, listen up. So my son, my oldest, is 23. And we were out this weekend. We live near the city of Sacramento in California. It's the capital city. It's got a beautiful downtown. It's got a beautiful old town where all the old 49ers and, gold rush people and the railroad and all this stuff. It's a beautiful place to visit. And we were walking around, and he and his friends go to downtown Sacramento all the time. And there's a particular, we went to this one shop. He wanted at the last minute. He's like, let me show you this one place. I love this place. It's got artwork in it that he just is like dreaming about possibly owning someday. He loves just visiting this room with this artwork. And so this piece of artwork, one piece of artwork, the artist was there. And he was able to talk to the artist and buy a piece of artwork with it signed on the back and a custom sketch made on the back of that piece of artwork. And he was over the moon. So think about that experience that happened in this local shop, how you can translate that to an online world. And me, I'm always behind my computer. I'm always just buying something online. I'm almost never going into a store anymore, unless it's a grocery store, because I had a bad experience with delivery of groceries. So I'm like, not doing that again. So at least not for a while, until I build up my trust again, right? But then we take this, and it continues. We take this piece of art. Or walking back toward the car and just meandering. And there's this other shop that he goes to all the time, which is a comic book store. And it's a local comic book store. And the owner is an author of a local comic strip that specifically, or comic books that specifically talk about heroes in this city. And he knows these guys. He's walking by and he's waving to them in the shop, and they wave back. And he has to go show this piece of artwork to these guys because he knows they would just totally appreciate it. And so think about how this is connected. So he goes to the shop, he shows them the artwork. The guy's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm having an event. I want to invite that artist. Tell me who that artist is so that I can maybe bring that artist back here and have them do some artwork for our comic, like a mini Comic-Con kind of idea. Think about that connection. Remember that tether I mentioned last time? We are all tethered like that. And when you provide an experience like Greg and his wife provide for his customers, and like my son experiences with these other vendors, you tether yourself. And when they talk and they go out into the community, they being your customers, they bring you with them. If you give that kind of experience to them, that is the future of e-commerce, of any kind of commerce. If you can bring that experience into your quote online business, to your quote scaling of your business, if you start with that one-on-one relationship, your scaling will happen through your customers. Once you introduce yourself to other people who also talk to your customers, it is, if you can figure out a way to, like that spatula person you mentioned, the person selling silicone spatulas. Guess what? If you did a YouTube channel, this is just an idea, YouTube channel about cooking. If that's why you're selling That's one of the reasons you're selling those silicone spatulas. If you enjoy cooking and you found this particular product and you love using it, then showcase how you use it. And that tethers you to your customers who will also use it. So find ways that you can do that with your products and your customers and tether yourself to that experience. And you will, I mean, that's what the whole influencer idea is, as long as it's true to the person. We don't want to just be an influencer who's just out there hawking products. We want to actually have it a true experience, right?
Yes.
Did I sum that up the way you're doing it?
Absolutely.
It's incredible. It's an experience with your customers, and you need to find, that's what innovation is. You need to find that tether, find that the way you do something. Business hasn't really changed that drastically. I don't care whether you're talking about online or 2000 years ago, a vendor selling peaches, right? In California, if there was such a thing at that time. There wasn't 2000 years ago, but you know what I mean? Whatever that relationship is, it hasn't changed. We just need to find innovative ways to do business in our current society, in our current medium. And that innovation comes from us and how we care about our customers and the impact we make on them. Wow. Greg, I know what you just shared is completely valuable. It's so valuable to the people listening. Take that, please, and use it in your business. And I guarantee you, not just the success you have, but the feeling of peace, the feeling of joy and excitement that you're actually making the world a better place is really what it's all about, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit CEOmischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.